My name is Max Hoey, and for this documentary I will be discussing Portuguese and American culture. Now, the reason for these two cultures is because I was born in the United States, specifically in California, and I've been living in Portugal since I was 2 years old. The question I'll be answering throughout this documentary is, why do we have different opinions on culture due to the way we were inherited? So basically, this question refers to the way you were taught and by who you were taught by. And because this changes your opinion on culture. This really depends on how you look at cultures from all around the world, but mainly where you were raised. When you go to the US or to Portugal, there will be some knowledge needed when going to these countries to visit or to live. I will be discussing four main things, which is places to visit, international foods, main religions, and temperature and weather, like average temperature and weather that occurs in America and Portugal. Firstly, we will be looking at some places you should visit in Portugal or in the US to get a better understanding about their culture. Also, you can go to these places even if you are a tourist or if you actually live in either of these two countries. Some places you should visit in America are the White House, as it's a great place to visit since it's the American president's house. The address will be on the screen. The 86th floor or the 102nd floor, you were provided with amazing 360 angle views of New York. The address will also be on the screen. The Statue of Liberty National Monument is a statue of a robbed female figure by the name of Libertas, the Roman goddess who holds a torch and a tablet evoking the law which has a name of Tabula Ansata. This statue also has a broken chain lying at her feet, which shows an icon of freedom and of the United States. The address will be on the screen. Some places you should visit in Portugal are Cascais is a little town that used to be a fishing village. During the Second World War, it was a hub for both Allies and Nazis, as Portugal was a neutral country. There is no address, but if you ask people around you, they will most probably know how to explain you where it is. Lisbon is the capital of Portugal, which has a lot of good architecture, and it's known for cafe culture and soulful fado music. Again, if you ask anyone around you who is Portuguese, they will most likely guide you there. The Algarve is famous for its beaches. It has always had a lot of tourists who love the weather, golf, and warm waters. It is also where the Moors invaded, as it is so close to northern Africa. Once again, if you ask anyone who's Portuguese and who lives in Portugal, they will most probably know how to guide you to Algarve. Now, moving on to national and popular foods in America and Portugal, we'll start with America. Some national and popular dishes in America are hot dogs, which can be lunch or dinner, hamburgers, which can also be lunch or dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, which is usually at dinner, but you can also have it at lunch, apple pie, which is considered a dessert, Twinkies, which is a junk food, which can be for snack. Last but not least, one of the most popular drinks in America, and also most well-known in worldwide, is Coca-Cola. Some national and popular food/dishes in Portugal are bacalhau, which is a type of fish which can be for lunch or dinner. Ameijoas, in English, are called clams, which are either for lunch or dinner. Arroz de pato, which translates to duck rice, can be for lunch or dinner. Brigadeiro is a chocolate cake, which can be either very small or a cake. Also, this is a dessert or snack. Pastel de nata is a snack or dessert. Lastly, one of the most traditional or famous drinks is Porto wine. Now, moving on to religions. When you go to a country to learn about its culture, you need to know and realize what religions you will be learning about or religions you should be aware about. Like in America, there are a bunch of religions all over the country, but there are very few which are considered the most popular, like Christianity, atheism, and Judaism. Although in Portugal there are a bunch of different religions in every town and city in Portugal, like everywhere, but the main religion which stands out of the most is Christianity. Temperature and weather is something which you need to know very well about, as when you go to visit a country, you need to be very aware of what you're going to deal with, as in for the United States, it's more of a cold place depending on where you go. Like on the other hand, if you go to Portugal to visit or to live, you need to be aware of how it can be very cold or it can be very hot depending on the seasons. I am now going to be showing a chart showing the average temperatures that occur
average of high and low temperatures that occur in every month in the United States and in Portugal.
Now we have Gael Rouge, also known as my mom, which I am going to be interviewing her about her opinion on culture. So, tell us, what do you think about the American culture?
I think there are lots of different people in America. You have people who are very, very cultured, and you have a big majority which is very uncultured, who don't know much about anything. And I don't know if you can really say that there's an American culture except for McDonald's and...
Okay, I'll take your opinion. How are Americans as people in the way that they act and speak? What do you think about the way they act and speak?
Well, it's a bit the same as what I was saying before. You have people who are incredibly polite, well-spoken, and then you have a big majority, in my experience of living there and going there a lot, who are, very basic.
Okay. And do you believe in what people say about Americans is true? Like, for example, if they're racist, they're gun-loving, they only care about money and themselves. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, the Republicans love guns, but the Democrats don't. It depends on the people. There's 250 million people in America. They're not all the same.
Okay. Okay, thank you for those answers. Now we're going to move on to Portuguese culture. So, again, can you tell us what do you think about Portuguese culture?
Well, Portuguese culture, contrary to the Americans, has been here since Portugal started in the 12th century. So we have, there's a lot of culture in Portugal. There's a lot of beautiful architecture. There's a lot of history. There's just a lot of our food, our fado, our music. We have a very old culture.
Okay. How are the Portuguese as people in the way that they act and speak?
I like the way the Portuguese are polite. I find they're pretty considerate of other people. They're well brought up, but for the most part, and they're usually very nice people, and they're nice to foreigners. They like different types of people, and they can be closed-minded about, some things, about their morals and everything, but I think as a general, they're pretty open-minded to outside influences.
Do you believe on what people say about Portugal is believed to be true? Like, example of stereotypes. Like, they're generous with tourists, they like foreigners, they have good taste in music, they're proud of their country, and some of very stupid stereotypes, they only think about Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, there's stereotypes of any country which are true, but I don't think they only think the stereotype that the only thing the Portuguese care about is Ronaldo. I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of people who don't care about football, Portuguese who don't care about football, but it's normal that a mega superstar like Ronaldo is important to the Portuguese because he represents Portugal all over the world.
Well, thank you for your time and thank you for answering these questions.
You are very welcome.
So throughout this documentary, we have looked at places to visit when living or visiting, national dishes and popular food, most popular religions, constant weather and temperature in America and Portugal. And we have also had an interview from my mother. The information we have looked at are fact, but the interview was all based on opinion. So to answer the question, why do we have different opinions on culture due to the way we're inherited? This is because if you were brought up by someone who is very cautious and very aware of their culture, and they bring it down to you and they show you all about their country and their nationality, then it means you'll have a lot of knowledge about culture and you'll be very aware about culture. Although on the other hand, if you have someone which the person who raised them isn't aware of their culture and nationality and doesn't show you around their culture and their country, then you will have a completely different based opinion than someone who has more knowledge on their own culture.